Welcome back, everyone, to the Canadian Baseball Network podcast and our weekly college baseball series. Today, we're excited to be joined by Director of Pitching and Analytics for Southeastern Louisiana, Ethan Francis. How's it going, Ethan?
Pretty solid, man. Just back in P.E.I. and enjoying some time in the Maritimes.
I was going to say P.E.I. native. I think this might be the first P.E.I. guest we've ever had, so congratulations.
Yeah, there's not a ton of us out there, I guess, in like baseball world. So yeah, a little bit harder to come by, I guess.
Small but proud. Small but proud.
hmm
I guess that's where I
Exactly.
want to start is take me through before we get into your coaching and analytics kind of career. Take me through your baseball career. Where did you kind of start? Tell me how you kind of went through in your baseball career.
Yeah, so I started out with Summerside minor baseball. So I played for the Summerside Chevys, and we hosted a lot of like the event like Atlantics and stuff over there in Summerside. So I started out there playing, and then the first time I really kind of took a step in baseball was going to Eastern Baseball Academy, is what it was called then. And it was like a training facility over in Stratford. So that was about an hour away from where I live right now. And we used to go there 2, 3 times a week and train there. And whenever I was there, the Okotoks dogs came out and scouted a little bit. So I guess they saw me there, offered me a spot on the team. And then whenever I was 15, I headed out to Okotoks and played there for all my high school years. So that was a phenomenal experience.
What was that like going from PEI all the way out to Alberta as a 15-year-old?
Yeah, yeah, no, it's pretty crazy, especially whenever you tell people from the U.S. because a lot of them, like almost everyone there, just plays high school baseball in their hometown and stuff like that. But it's a little bit more common, I guess, here. But that's just kind of what I had to do in order to like further my baseball career, and it was definitely a lot of fun going out to Alberta. Definitely learn a lot of things and see the world a little bit differently, a little higher paced lifestyle in Calgary opposed to Summerside PEI. But it was a lot of fun going out to Alberta. So I stayed there for 3 years, and then I ended up going to play junior college baseball over at the Canadian Pipeline of Colby Community College, one of the probably 100
Very,
Canadians that have went there. Yeah.
very Canadian pipeline of Colby Community College.
Yeah. So there was a lot of guys from Okotoks at that point that would go to Colby and play. So I went over there, played until COVID canceled our season. And whenever I was out there, I posted a video on Twitter, ended up getting a lot of traction on it, I guess, and then got some college interest. And then I went on a visit to Northwestern State, which is in Louisiana. And whenever I went on my visit, uh, he gave me the offer, and I asked him if I could sign right then. Uh, it was definitely like the best offer that I thought I could ever get. So I went after COVID. I went out to Louisiana, and I have not left since.
I was going to say, yeah, I went down to Alabama and I almost stayed down there too in the South. But so
Yeah,
how'd you end up at Southeastern Louisiana?
yeah. So our after playing my 3 years at Northwestern State, I was supposed to go graduate assistant at another school. Uh, then once our coach at Northwestern, he ended up getting the job at Southeastern. So he asked me if I want to come do my MBA over at Southeastern, and I was like, yeah, for sure. Let's do it. So I that's how I ended up over at Southeastern, and then from there, just kind of roles expanded. A lot of the start was me watching him and seeing how he runs the pitching staff because our head coach is also our pitching coach. And then as time went on and he trusted me more, then let me get more into the coaching aspect of it. And now him and I do everything together as far as programming and a lot of like just day to day stuff and in game stuff as well. So.
So director of pitching and analytics. I want to kind of focus on the analytical part of it. How did you
Mhm.
first get into that side of the game? Was there like a moment in time where you used certain analytics, or I know obviously it's big now, but I remember, even 10 years ago, it's not nearly what it is.
Yeah, so whenever I was at Colby Community College, we had a pitching coach. His name was Josh Aller, and he was like my introduction into Rapsodo, is what we used at the time. So I would just sit by the Rapsodo and kind of see what all the numbers meant. At that point, it was mostly just like, what's your spin rate on this? What's like, we didn't really know what any of the other numbers meant besides velocity and spin rate. And all we knew about spin rate was that's how fast the ball is spinning. So that was kind of my introduction to that. And then I started doing more research on YouTube and stuff like that. I think at the time there was a guy named Simple Sabermetrics. They used to post quite a few like just breakdowns of what kind of the numbers meant. At least like the basic numbers that they were kind of spitting at us at that point. And so I would watch his videos and just kind of like see what all that meant, and how it's kind of used. And I would say only within the past couple years, I really have gotten like a grasp of what it actually, like what a lot of it actually means. But yeah, that's kind of how I got introduced to it, was at Colby Community College.
I guess let's take a step back. When we say analytics, or analytical, what are we talking about? Just to clarify this for maybe some of the high school listeners that may not be used to some of these terms.
Yeah, so what I mostly look at is ball flight metrics. So whenever I'm looking, so we have all these different technologies at Southeastern. The two main ones that we use on just about a daily basis are TrackMan and Edgertronic cameras. So TrackMan is it reads all the like the full ball flight, and it spits out a bunch of these numbers that correlate to something. So uh and then the cameras that we use, which is the Edgertronic camera, is it will zoom it in right to like the ball release, and we'll be able to see how the ball is coming out of the hand, and what kind of different changes as far as like arm path, or like just mechanical changes that we can make to make the ball come out of the hand a little bit differently, I guess, if
How
that
much have
answers
you
your
seen
question.
this? How much? Yeah, absolutely. How much have you seen this change, just even from your playing career in, say, high school, playing in P.E.I. to now being at the university level, and then I'm sure when you get to the pro level, it's even more than what it is at the college level. So how have you kind of seen that evolution transpire?
Well, uh I would say that it's definitely, whenever I first started playing baseball, I had no clue how hard I threw. I had
So,
no I
I
yeah,
didn't want. I didn't want.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, I had no clue how hard I threw. I just knew that the ball either went straight usually or it tailed. And everyone was looking for their ball to tail more. And if your ball went straight, then they would say that you had a flat fastball. So that's kind of where things kind of started. Uh, and and now it's just kind of blown up to the point where I can look at somebody's body and how they move and know that this pitch shape is probably going to work for them, and another pitch shape is not going to be attainable, and how we can kind of get their what they call motor preferences in line with what is actually coming out of their hands. So like there's a lot that goes into it now.
I was gonna say motor preferences. Are you talking like is that kind of like mechanics, so to speak?
Yeah, so it's kind of like basic, like at least at ball release would be like if you're a supination bias guy. So if you're a guy that like spins the ball really well, or if you're a pronation bias guy that likes to do this more, usually if you're a pronation bias guy, then you're gonna see a fastball that the TrackMan will say like 100% spin efficiency. So it basically means like the ball's spinning perfectly back and forth with no gyroscopic spin, which would be like bullet spin.
Yeah.
Whereas I was a supinator, so whenever I would release the ball, it would be coming out the side a little bit this way, and it would have a little bit of cut spin. But that meant that it was really easy for me to throw a lot of breaking balls.
It's
So that's kind of what I mean by the supination bias and the pronation bias and motor preference, is that like say that a guy's a pronation bias guy, he's not going to work with my standard summer side PEI curveball grip. He's gonna have to go with more of a spike grip, probably, and feel it really coming off this finger for him to be able to effectively like spin the ball.
Summerside P.E.I. curveball grip. That's the first I've heard of that pitch. So I'm going to put that in my repertoire. When you see freshmen come in, and this can be, this is kind of maybe a bit of a learning thing for Canadian high schoolers. When you see that, say, an American freshman come in here, how familiar are they with this, with analytics and what they're working with?
I would say they have a basic understanding, just enough for them to chase the wrong things. Usually is the
Which is, I'm
case.
sure, what you love as a coach, right? Them chasing.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see guys come in, and I don't want to get too advanced and like lose some people with this, but like we'll see some guys come in and they'll have really high release heights. So whenever you have a really high release height, you're not gonna get like Brian Wu is a perfect example where he has a low release height and he's got that high vert. So whenever it comes in, it looks like it's coming on like a almost on an upward trajectory. We'll see guys that come in, they have super high release heights and they'll be like chasing a ton of vert and stuff. And that's just it can work that way, but usually if the ball's coming down like this on a flat angle and their bats are going this way, then it's probably not going to work as well as if it's coming here and they're trying to hit it that way. If that
Yeah.
makes sense. So
Yep.
like there'll be guys that are trying to chase the wrong things a lot of the time, and they'll be kind of cheating to positions mechanically in order to get to those spots. So they come in with a decent understanding. They may know what induced vertical break means or horizontal break, but they're not really as well versed as I am.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which they don't have to be. They can. I hope they can just like trust what the head coach Bobby Barbier and I are saying to them, and kind of take that and roll
They
with
can at
it.
least speak the language, so to speak. They know
Exactly.
they know the terms that you're throwing out. They know roughly what they mean,
Hmm.
but they may not be in tune with the. Do you find some? Are you kind of saying that guys don't necessarily know what kind of pitchers they are when they come a lot of the time,
Yeah.
compared
Hmm.
to what the data would tell them?
Yeah, exactly. And a couple of years ago, maybe I would agree with that, but I was in the kind of like the same boat, like I was just learning. I'm 25 now, and this is my third year coaching. So as I get older and I start to learn these numbers and how to apply them correctly, then things become easier, and we know what we're kind of striving for.
How do you go about kind of translating all of this to a younger player? Because I'm sure it's a lot of information and a lot of stuff that maybe they've heard of, but they don't have a clue what it means. So how do you go about teaching this to
Hmm.
younger players?
I would say that the best way to teach somebody is to not really like tell them. I mean, like you tell them like what we're trying to achieve, but you don't exactly tell them like the exact like analytical like what we're trying to achieve, but you kind of do it in like a ballpark fashion. I would say is probably the best way to do it. So like if I tell a guy that we're looking for quote unquote like death ball shape, which would be a pitch that goes like almost straight down. It doesn't go really side to side, and we're not looking for much pop like out of the hand. You know what I mean? If we're trying to achieve that, I'm just gonna look at the way they move, give them a grip, see if it works, see if they can repeat it multiple times over again, and then kind of go from there, and not really like say like, well, you have to let's like you have to do this, and this. Like just try to simplify it to a point where they feel comfortable and they can just rip a pitch instead of them having to think like, oh, I have to get so supinated and throw at the back of my hand and stuff. Like a lot of the times, like you can maybe do that with some players, but usually it's probably just gonna make them think a little bit too much. Makes sense.
That's interesting because you've said a few times now, just watch how they move. How much of it is the data and how much of it would you say is feel? And just like you said, watching them. Because I'm sure sometimes the data it may lead you astray sometimes just based on the
Mhm.
individual person. So how much feel goes into this kind of thing?
A lot, I would say a lot of feel like just being able to know the guy and know what they're comfortable with. Like we're probably not going to start pitch shaping with a guy that may have like some apparent mechanical flaws, or we don't think that the way that he moves is repeatable. Probably not going to pitch design with a guy like that. So it's whereas like maybe if you were to go somewhere else, maybe they would, like and just try to chase some nasty shapes. But like it's all about having feel for like the individual person. Like our Friday night starter, uh, whenever I first got here, was a great example of a guy that you could work with pretty heavily, and he was super receptive. He could already command the strike zone, but his pitch plot, so basically XY axis that has like where all of his pitches are moving on the graph, was pretty close together. So his pitches weren't moving the way that basically we wanted them to. But we knew that he was a supination bias guy, and we knew that he had great feel and he was a great listener. So whenever you mix those things together, then that's whenever something really special can happen, whenever they're really uh like willing to learn. And that guy ended up going from one of the worst qualifying pitchers in the league to a draft pick by the New York Yankees last year and pitcher of the year.
Is there? That's awesome. First of all, it's so cool to see data and then feel, because I think like some people think it has to be one or the other, right? There seems to be this like tug of war between analytics and the old kind of the old school way of coaching, but it's they really do need to work in unison. It feels like.
No, they definitely do, and I think that the data is great for trying to increase like swing and miss and stuff like that. But uh, this is going to be an old head thing to say, but it doesn't matter if you throw 100 if you can't put it over the white. Like you really need to focus on that, because that's what's going to limit base runners. Like race to two strikes is one of the most important metrics that isn't one that pops up on the track, man. You know what I mean? Like that's a huge thing that everyone should strive for before maybe trying to pitch shape and losing some feel over some things.
Is there such thing as too much information, and how do you kind of walk that line? Again, I'm sure it's a lot of a feel thing and how guys translate and understand things, but is there such thing as too much information for guys?
I would say, yeah, like for players, there's definitely like too much information that can be shared like I would say it's really player dependent. Like there's some guys that know how to use this information and make themselves better. But then there's other guys that maybe they don't really want to know. They just want to throw pitches that they feel confident in, and they don't really need to know the reason why. But there's definitely too much that you can give the player. But on my side of things, whenever we're trying to create the best staff possible, ideally, I would like to have all the information that I'm able to have, and I would like to have more information. If we could get some more funds to buy some more things to get more information, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's always great to have all the information. It's just kind of how it's applied, I think, is kind of the big thing.
Exactly. Yeah. There's plenty of people out there with trackmans and stuff like that, different ball tracking software and like hardware, and but you definitely need to know how to apply all these numbers and make them into things that can make your pitching staff actually better.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess that kind of leads to my next question. Do you think high school programs, like the Okotoks Dogs, like the Terrors, like the Ontario Blues, should they be incorporating more analytics at the high school level, or is that something that you think they should focus more on, like the fundamentals of the game?
I would say that if you're talking about a program like the Okotoks Dogs or Ontario Blue Jays, like one of those, like the highest programs in the nation, with their advanced teams, I don't think that there's any issue with trying to focus on analytics and like just trying to optimize, I guess, like what they already have, because those kids at the end of the day, a lot of them have stuff that they can compete at the college level already. So if you can try to optimize their arsenals at a younger age and get them figured out a little bit, then I think that it would then make them even more recruitable. Like because sometimes you'll see a guy in high school and you don't know if you want to take a chance on him because you don't know if that breaking ball is going to work. But if you have somebody there who really knows the numbers and all that stuff, and they can kind of optimize a kid's arsenal before he gets to college, or at least to a decent extent, then you can kind of give a college recruiter a little bit more information. Because a lot of the time we'll get guys in from high school, but they may throw a 74-mile-an-hour breaking ball, and we're like, at the Division 1 level, it's probably not going to work. But if we could get that breaking ball up to 80, 81, then that's a pitch that could really work. And if that's already figured out and we've already seen it with our own eyes, then that'll make somebody pull the trigger on them, you know?
For sure. No, I have to ask. I don't think Southeastern Louisiana doesn't have a Canadian this year, do they?
They don't. This is the first year that Bobby Barbier, our head coach, has not had a Canadian in his career, I believe, as a head coach.
Really? Wow. Because
Mhm.
Jude Hall was last year, right?
Jude Hall was last year. The year before, Jude was also on the team. And then the year before that was me. The year before that was me and Ryan Olchway
Yep.
from Saskatchewan. And then it was me and him again. Logan Hoffman was
Yep.
also, um, Jose Vasquez.
Yep. I played with Jose Vasquez actually in the Intercounty Baseball League. Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
see if you played with him or knew him at all, but
I did not play with him or know him, but I know that he did play for our head coach. And I believe that he may have been the first Canadian that he had as a head coach.
yeah. So I guess none this year. Maybe a couple next year. Who knows? Or the year after.
Yeah.
Got to
Uh-huh.
get that Canadian pipeline going again.
No, 100%. Yeah. I've been in contact with a lot of the Canadian high school programs and stuff, and I would love to go watch him play. And there could be some things coming up in the future where they could. I'll just leave it there. There could be some things coming up in the future where their programs could be a little bit closer to us whenever they're playing.
For sure. Well,
Coming
that's
down south.
well, yeah, we'll leave it at that. We'll leave the cliffhanger there. But I guess I want to wrap up, not analytically, but how's the team looking heading into the season? Kind of what are your expectations going forward?
Yeah, I think our team looks really pretty solid. Like, we have some really talented players, and I'm excited to see if we can like put it together and do well. Last year, I mean, we had a lot of older guys that had a lot of experience, and they did really well. We had a couple of guys end up getting drafted. Another guy ended up signing to play indie ball there not too long ago in the American, and they've been doing really well. We had a nice fall. We ended up playing 4 fall games, two against LSU, two against Southern, and I think that we did well in those fall games. It's all just gonna be if we can put it together. I know we got a lot of talent. We've brought in some transfers from some pretty big schools: Tennessee, LSU, UL, and all those guys are phenomenal players. Just hoping that whenever we put on the green, we can be really good.
100%. We'll be following closely. And this was a great conversation. I mean, we haven't talked analytics on this show yet. So it was awesome to get some of that insight. Ethan, we really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, 100%. Thanks for having me.